I went to get a haircut at 4:30, and as I walked in, they put the lock sign up on the door, and the we're closed button, and they close at 5. So I walked out of there right at 6, and my barber, I've known them for years, but I felt kind of guilty, but she wouldn't let me go. She said, let me cut your hair. You think I look pretty good, don't you guys? Let's check this out.
Nice.
Yeah,
looks good, bro.
Thank you. Coming from Otisor, It's Otisir. It seems a little Otisor that he has no hair. No, excuse me, Otisir. That wasn't even funny. I just had to go off of Otisor. But I raced home, and I sent you guys a text message that I was eating tacos with poop in the bed, and because Siri put a comma where she shouldn't have, but I was eating tacos with a new hot sauce I got, called Poop the Bed, but it uses the S word, and I try not to talk like that unless I've hit myself in the thumb with a forging hammer or something. So I guess I can start right there. You guys can look it up. It's called, it rhymes with hit the bed, but you add an S in front, and it comes out of Australia, and it's advertised as a heat of 12 out of 10. I'm like, this stuff's got to be good. So it came in the mail, and I was all excited, and I put a little drop on a cracker because I didn't want to kill myself. I figured the pain and all that was coming on, and I'm not a big pain heat kind of guy. I just love the name of it, and that's what sold it, because when I checked it out, it was actually only 36,000 Scovilles, which is less than a habanero. I think a habanero comes in around 150 to 300. And I could eat habaneros, and they are hot. They make me go, ooh, but they're not terrible. I've eaten hotter peppers, and had to wait that 15, 20 minutes to get rid of the burn. So I tried this, and it was like, well, that tastes very good. So here's what I say about it. And I wrote about it earlier this week, that I gave it a 5 stars out of 10, because the name of it is what's selling millions of bottles of it all over the world. And the taste is a 3 out of 10 for heat. Now for taste, I'll give it a 4.5, because it was really good. I had it on tacos tonight. Is what, I wasn't eating poop on tacos. I was eating beef tacos with some Scheist the Bed hot sauce, and I would recommend it. It's got just enough heat to get your attention, but not so much that you don't enjoy your meal. And I think so. That's really what we need in heat, unless you're in a contest or trying to prove your manhood. What do you guys think about that?
I agree. I eat hot sauce all the time and eat a lot of hot things, but I don't like going overboard with it. And some people, their average thing is incredibly hot. Like if they go to a place and it's like they have like the non-spicy stuff, and they have the stuff that like burns your face off, they're like, yeah, no, I'll go ahead and get that. Can you put some extra hot stuff on it?
Right.
I'm not that guy. I would rather enjoy the meal rather than be sweating the entire time I'm eating the meal. But,
I like to find the balance, and you're right. I like to find that balance. And like when I go to eat Thai food, I'm like, bring me a bucket of chili paste, and I'm sitting there sweating while I'm eating it. But Thai food is good. The hotter you can make it, the better it is. But then there are times where I like to back off a little bit. But I don't know. I was a little disappointed in this sauce. I had some higher expectations, but all in all, I guess it turned out okay. Otisir, what is your taste for spice? You a spicy guy, or?
Yeah, well, I just had some jalapenos tonight, pickled jalapenos. And
that sounds
they get
good.
really juicy, and then I took a big bite out of a chunk, and that sprayed juices all over my mouth and my throat, so I was choking for a good minute. I'm still on it, by the way.
Yeah.
And went well with the dinner, quintessential American dinner.
What did you have for dinner?
Potatoes.
Ooh, sounds good.
Steak
Nice.
and baked potatoes.
Yes, it's what I would have guessed. I'd have been right all over that. Eric, you had a bowl of mini tater tots with cheese and
Pulled pork.
pulled pork.
Pulled pork on them with buffalo ranch on top of it. I wanted to do something simple, and I had all of those ingredients within 2 feet of me because I started making food at like 6:15, and I was like tater tots in the air fryer. Heat the pulled pork back up, and then put it all in a bowl, melt cheese on top of it, cover it in buffalo ranch, and there's your dinner. Because I'm the only person here tonight. The wife and the kids are at my in-laws for the night.
What
playing
in the
games
world are
and eating
you?
food.
What in the world are you doing on here with us? You should be out making knives. I'm joking. You need a break from making knives.
That's what I was doing. I started at 8:30 this morning, and I got done doing that at 6 o'clock.
Oh my!
And
Oh my!
I washed up, started making food.
If you have an alcoholic beverage or a bottle of water mixed with a flavor, I think you've hit all the food groups. So either way, you're just fine.
Yeah.
With what are you drinking tonight?
I'm at blackberry lemonade.
You've got your fruits and vegetables. There you go. Mm-hmm. And I drank a Coke Zero, but I followed that up with a 6-gallon margarita I've made here for the show. So, Jason, your boys were asking for seconds or something when you first came on. What was
They were. So I made venison sausage, and it was a lot like Eric. About 6:05, I was like, "Oh, geez, podcast. I haven't eaten anything." So I cooked up some sausage and ate it on a tortilla with a little cheese and mustard. Just made a quick sausage wrap and a glass of sweet tea.
Yes,
I did not actually put hot sauce on my sausage wrap though. Like I proved my manhood with like forging hot steel. I don't have to have hot sauce.
That's cool. That's cool.
But the hotter the better is true still.
It is. But I would say with everything we all ate tonight, Eric's fine mixture of bachelor foods brought together into fine cuisine, mine with some shite the bed, Otisir with his squirting jalapenos into his mouth, and Jason with his deer sausage and forging. I think that we will all have enough gas over the next 2 hours to get this one off the ground.
I bet that's right.
3, 2, 1, 0.
You're listening to the Knives Templars.
I got a piece off of the wagon that Sam Houston used to take JFK to the moon.
Pinto sauce. I like that. Pinto sauce.
Pinto sauce. You're tuned in to the Knives Templars podcast, featuring Otisir Special Sauce Pinto.
I was a mean kid.
Long time listener, first time caller.
Eric T.R.E. Rivers.
Holy crap, I built something.
Mark Vasallo.
There would be a lot of places I would launch myself to.
Chip Shegman Carlisle. We've had a raccoon come through the screen door down in the family room. And presenting the individual creative stylings of Jason Fry.
Yeah, I've been just been doing what we do, drinking a glass of sweet tea.
And now broadcasting across planet Earth, it's the Knives Templars, coming to you live from Forkhouse Studios located in Hartselle, Alabama. This is the Knives Templars podcast. We are on air, on demand, and heard worldwide in all of your favorite apps and at theknivestemplars.com. My goodness, we are halfway through season 6 just about. Woohoo! Man, we've been doing this for well over 2 years now. I made my third installment with the what do you call it? Our recording studio this past couple weeks ago. So, man, it's fun to pay that bill. I don't mind paying it. I'm actually focusing on the fact that, hey, we've been doing this a long time. That that bill's come up again, and we're all benefiting from it in one way or the other. It's kind of cool.
Does it feel like we've been doing it for that long? Because to me, I'm just like, man, that time has flown by.
It really has flown by. But I think if you look at the quality of our work and what we are doing, I think that our interactions together, well, with the other community things that you're involved in as well as I am, we've just seen each other grow tremendously into much better makers. I would say you guys into wonderful makers, and for myself, I continue to grow. I'm a long way from making skinners, so making another skinner. But is that what? No, fleshers. Fleshers. That was what we called them, the fleshers. We've all made big steps forward, so it's quite exciting. Jason, I got to get you to say something, and I'll change out. Just doing what we do, drinking a glass of tea. You know, the whole Sam Houston and the wood and to the moon and all that was good, but it's perfect where it is. So you'll have to. I'll find something and I'll replace that eventually.
I'm sure it'll sound totally ridiculous. That's I'm good at that. So yeah.
Yeah. I sent Jason his confirmation number and put him on the meal ticket for Blade Show, in case Jesus takes me home or Eric takes me out for goofing on his live streams. I'm sorry, Eric. I realize I got to quit. I think I came on there last week and said, I like turtles. I'm just like, that's my greeting. And I realize that, what, them boys aren't on there to hear me be a smart aleck. So I'm just sitting there quiet watching you and learning, Eric. How's that going?
They don't mind.
That's fine. Yeah, I know. How's that? But what is it? Duck. Who's the duck?
Oh yeah, Mr. Duck Rabbit.
Yeah, Forge. Yeah, he last week he said something about me drinking too much or being an alcoholic, and I'm like, I haven't had anything to drink tonight. Oh my gosh, is this what I sound like? So I decided, awesome. I better just shut up and listen. Best thing we do. So what have you been up to, Eric? You're by yourself tonight?
Yeah, I've been working on a bunch of knives. I've got trying to prep for the Texas Select Show at the beginning of April, down in Belleville. I'm going to be down there.
Where is Belleville?
Down by Austin.
Oh, okay. So you got quite
between Austin and Houston.
Houston, yeah.
Yeah, down by Brenham, kind of.
So that's going to be about 6 hours?
Yeah, about 6 hour drive. I'm gonna have Nisha with me. We got a cute little Airbnb down there, which is it's like a little A-frame cabin that I was able to scoop up, and we're gonna go down there. And the thing is, like right now, I'm trying to get knives finished up to replace knives that I've sold, and so I've got a whole bunch of knives in the process, and then I just took on some commission pieces. So it's just trying to get everything knocked out. I was working on
your sword
5
too.
Knives today. Yeah, no, I got that actually with me.
Oh wow!
And it's looking.
Yeah, we're looking at it here and see it looks like you got it ground on up, didn't you?
Yeah, just preheat treat bevels. It's going to go up a little bit higher.
Oh, I see the lines there.
Yeah, it'll go up to about the fuller.
Did you put that fuller in there with your tool from the guy out in Virginia that sent you the fullering tool?
That's the
guillotine. Yeah, thank you.
It's a forged fuller.
Yeah,
it turned out.
That did turn out very nice. Yeah, for you guys that can't see this, just check out Eric on the Rivers Experience, or check him out on the TRE Workshop, and I'm sure he'll have some pictures of it posted out there. Beautiful, beautiful.
What's your length on that? About 18, 20?
The blade is just over 18. It'll be 24-inch overall length.
Man, that's a big one. I love it.
25. Yeah, and it's gonna be real cool. I've got some more stuff that I got to do to it, and of course heat treated. I'm gonna be heat treating it tomorrow. Got all the initial, shoulders and everything all set up for the guard and all that.
Yeah.
But it's gonna have a wrought iron guard that I'm going to do a real deep etch on. I'm going to etch it for like 18, 20 hours. So I've got to, whenever I do it, I have to leave a bunch of extra material whenever I actually cut the slot, because it will eat that slot open. And so I got to leave a bunch of extra material there. Then I got to get in there with my good files, because I mean, it's even after I because I am going to heat treat it, I'm going to quench it and everything, so it etches super dark and all that. But even after that, I'm just going to file it all and finish fitting it up after it's all etched.
I take good care of my files. You just brought up something with me that's like, I buy Nicholson files, and I take really good care of them. I bought a set of Nicholson jeweler's files, or gunsmith files, and I take really good care of them. And the one thing I hate the most is when a Nicholson file finally wears out, because they've all got a lifespan, and then it's kind of like, so I try to keep them on that soft steel as much as possible, and away from hardened steel as much as possible, because I sure hate throwing them away. They're not terribly expensive. It's just a shame, because they're such a nice file when you get to use them. And
I spent a little bit of time with Brian Tomberlin, Master Smith in Oklahoma, and he put me on to the Friedrich Dick files. Friedrich Dick, they're available at Rio Grande and some other places. Plus, you get to make dick file jokes if you want to. But they cut very well, and I'm kind of like you. I take extra care of that one. I keep it in the drawer and only pull it out for filing and dialing in shoulders. But even then, they do have a lifespan, because I don't know how Otis here does it, but when I do shoulders, I usually quench past the ricasso and then draw it back to blue before I file it. So I'm filing steel in the mid 40s. You know, it's still kind of hard. It's either that or you leave a soft spot up through your ricasso.
I'm filing my ricasso and my shoulders for the guard pre-heat treat.
Okay, and then cleaning it back up afterward.
Yep.
May have to try that.
I filed in these, and then took my J-Flex belt and radiused the plunge, because I wanted it to be a square plunge.
Right.
But I filed those in, and then radiused it with the J-Flex hanging off the edge of the platen, so that they were super symmetrical, because they're going to be like a 1/16 of an inch away from the guard, and the guard butts like right up to it. So you'll see if it's off. Yes. Yes, it will.
I don't know if it's necessarily on topic, because some of the current events, I saw that Terrell put out a sanding video this week, grinding and sanding. I watched that today, and he does a really nice job with that. You know, the particular knife he was doing, when he did his initial grind lines weren't all that straight, this, that, and the other. And he had, what had he done? He had done something. He had, when he straightened the blade, he beat up his spine just a little bit. And he went back and cleaned that knife up and worked it around. And then when he went back to it and did his final grind, his lines still weren't perfect, and he went back to hand sanding, and thing looked beautiful when he was done. So it just kind of reinforced some of the things that I do that let you know that, that's the way to do it. You know, certainly respect what you see coming out of his shop. But interestingly enough, he's got some type of little weird device that rocks the knife back and forth, and you just lay your hand there and with the sandpaper, and it goes back and forth on it. So watch that video. It's kind of neat to see how it does that. I'm not quite sure if it's something I would use or not, but it's certainly innovative.
Yeah.
I've seen those before.
Sander, or his electric sander.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, grinding this was a pain in the butt. Like going through and doing that, and having it all super clean and all everything. That was a pain.
So are you going to grind out that fuller like on your small wheel, or are you going to leave it forged?
I'm gonna leave it forged. So everything from the fuller up will be the brute de forge finish. I'm bringing the bevels all the way up to the fuller, so they got to come up about another Yeah, they got to come up about another quarter to a little bit higher than that, because this blade is actually half an inch narrower at the ricasso than it is at the top
Like at
of
the
the
belly,
peak.
belly.
Yeah,
Can,
and
can I?
the fuller comes up away from the edge, so it splits apart, so that I would have just a real broad set of bevels right here where the belly is.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that it's been a lot trying to figure out how I want everything. So like my ricasso is squared off my cutting edge, so that whenever you see it with the guard, the top comes up and down, but the cutting edge is squared to the handle and the guard and everything.
What kind of guard are you going to put on
So
there?
it's a wrought iron, just a small, simple guard. It's going to be more like a medallion than anything.
More of a bowstring?
Okay.
Kinda.
So-
It is going to be proud. It's going to be proud of the handle material, but it's not. It's only going to be about at most half an inch wider than the ricasso.
So you're talking like a mini Suba.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah,
Okay.
and because Saxes don't have big guards. Their swords have cross guards and things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play with this. I am using a zebra bone for the handle, and it's going to be. I found this really cool piece at Blade Show, Texas. This really cool piece of zebra bone that is like chocolate brown, and it's gonna look cool with the other materials that I'm using on the handle.
I was going to be real impressed if you harvested your own zebra.
Yeah.
Right? I wish.
They do have some in
that'd have
Texas,
been
right?
cool.
You do have some imported zebras in Texas, right?
We got everything in Texas.
Yes,
every time
high fence, go shoot a zebra. Yeah.
Every time I see Charles Turnage, the ivory guy, I tell him that his mammoth farm looks like it's doing pretty good. Just give him a hard time about farming walruses too.
Well, I must tell you guys, by default, Johan Fagerlund from Sweden, the northern hemisphere where Vikings existed, mostly in Norway and down into Denmark. And I think they'll all argue with who were the best and true Vikings, but that whole area of Scandinavia, 7 to 900 AD, was Viking territory. And I think by default, he wins the Knife Makers Challenge, the YouTube Knife Makers Challenge, because he's the only one making a true Viking sword with runes, and he's a Viking by default, by heritage. So, you guys can choose who you want, but he gets my vote based on heritage and a beautiful sword he's made as well. I'm not taking anything away from you, Eric. I just thought it was cool that you guys are making, I've got this Viking challenge, and here's a guy from Sweden making a beautiful sword with runes on it. So, and he can read them.
What sword is he making? Is he making like an Uthbert or something else?
You'll have to look it up. I'm not exactly sure. It's a long sword and it's beautiful. He was etching the runes down the center of it today. What do you call that grind where it comes down and you've got a big dip in the center on both sides?
Yeah, it's a fuller.
Is that just a large fuller? Okay, so he was etching the runes into the fuller down the length of the sword today, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful.
Also
He's come
known as the blood groove.
Yes, he's. Oh, yes. He's come a long way as a maker in the last couple of years of watching him make knives as well. He's beautiful, beautiful guy. I hope when I make it to Norway, I won't get to Sweden. Well, you know what? It depends on how close he is to the border. If he's in southern Sweden, because I'll be in Oslo, maybe I'll get an opportunity to meet him as well.
Mine will have runes in the blade and in the handle.
Yeah, but you're not from Sweden or Norway or Denmark.
How do you know? I am from Denmark.
You are from Denmark? Denmark, Texas.
My family comes from that whole entire section of England, Scotland, Germany, Danish,
Viking.
Welsh.
Okay.
And
So
And then
your heritage is the victim of a Viking rape and plunder as well. Then,
So yeah, your great grandma got
very much so. Yep. And then my wife's side is direct descendants of it. That's the reason why my youngest looks like
Johan
not my
Fagerlund.
youngest, but my oldest boy looks like this.
Gotcha.
Big blonde haired, green eyed, super light skinned, and he is 13 and he's 6 foot tall and 210 pounds.
We'll have to start calling him Mr. Born Ironsides. So yeah, I've got 40
and he has a beard. He's 13 and he's growing a beard.
Wow. It's the steroids they're putting in the beef that you're serving at the house.
Definitely not the chicken, though. I'm sure.
No, chicken's antibiotic and steroid free. Probably beef, I'm sure is too. My heritage is Norwegian, English, and Scottish. So it's just I don't know what we're the victims of, but it's just the normal migration of people from that part of the world. So it's like 47% Norwegian.
It's good that you know all that about your family's heritage. I have no idea what mine is.
Well, interestingly
I'm
enough,
sort of a mutt. That's all I know.
Well, we all are to a certain degree, but I can. We all are, but I can't go back on one side of my family. I can only go back to 1863. On the other side of my family, I can go back into almost to the 1599, 1603. Depending on which person is there. So it's kind of cool.
I can go back to 1979,
And that's all that's important. And then making your mark on the world.
It said 1979.
Wasn't that?
It said 1970.
Wasn't that when
he slid that in there? Hey, he slid that in there like that was like a long time ago. Like that was like 1660s.
Yeah.
1979.
It'll be a long time, 100 years from now. So we're good.
I was born in the mid 1900s, so listen to that.
Yep.
Man, oh man.
The fries go all the way back to about the 1550s in Switzerland, south part of Switzerland.
Hey, we're all a bunch of Vikings on here.
Yeah, we've been over here since the 1740s, I think, if I remember right. Had a guy named Valentine Fry that was active in stealing some guns from the Loyalists during the Revolutionary Wars.
Oh, wow.
Where did y'all land? So where did your family land?
We ended up in Pennsylvania for a while and North Carolina for a while. We've been all around.
Yeah. My family
went straight to Alabama.
Oh, wow.
Straight to Alabama. All right.
There's a lot of Carlisles in Alabama because there's a lot of people that settled here, but we don't know. I don't know how we're connected to that, but my family actually went through Scotland and Ireland, came over to Norfolk, Virginia was another port of entry where people came in. And then from there, they went into Wilkesboro, North Carolina. And, I grew up in North Carolina. So
yeah, I thought about taking that as a DNA test for family history and stuff. I just don't know if it is worth it, the money, and then having my DNA floating out there somewhere.
Yeah.
I did it.
You did it?
I haven't done it. I just chased the lines way far back.
Yeah, I mean, if
my people came to Texas in 1855.
No, like I said, I don't know my heritage, man. My heritage goes back to 1979. That's it. That's as far as I know.
Yeah. Well, I would say you're probably 49% Brazilian and probably 51% Black Panther.
Yeah, well, I'll take it.
And not the political version, the actual animal itself. Brazil, you've got Colombia. What other countries are around Brazil?
Oh, we have a whole bunch of Chile, Argentina, Colombia, Chile, Uruguay, Paraguay, all the Guyanas, Ecuador.
Like French Guiana, you might be kin
Venezuela,
to
Venezuela.
Some of the people that were on that prisoner island that they made that movie about.
No.
Papillon?
I mean, my people comes from the south of Brazil, which is mostly Italian, German, Spanish, kind of deal going
Yeah.
on. So, but I really don't know. I'm
Didn't
guessing
didn't Hitler go to Brazil?
some Italian Portuguese mix kind of maybe.
Yeah, but didn't Hitler go to Brazil
No, he
after
went
World
to
War II?
Argentina.
Still,
Close enough.
I don't know.
Hey, we have a
I'll
lot
pay
of
for-
Schmitz in Brazil.
I'll pay for the test. I want to see. No, I think that you definitely have a lot of South American heritage in you.
Hey, do I look with a feather on the back of my head?
No, you look
Okay,
Jewish.
no,
You look Jewish.
I don't have a feather on the back of my head, man. My heritage is not South American. I don't know where it's from, but it's not South American.
Because you don't have a feather on the back of your head?
No, the natives. I'm not native.
Well, I'm not saying you're a native. You may have come from the Joneses of the Brazilians. The ones that walked around with their thumbs up, fingers up like that.
You talk about the Joneses. You know that a whole lot of Confederates moved to Brazil just after the Civil War, and we still celebrate the Confederacy down there with the flag and everything.
Well, interesting.
Yeah,
interesting.
So maybe I'm old Confederate soul.
Well, my father told me that we were Cherokee, and my mother told me we were German and English.
Everybody I know in America says, "Oh, I'm a 1/8 Cherokee. I'm a quarter Cherokee." Come on, man.
I doubted that from the get-go. I never thought we were Cherokee. But he's like, my grandmother was full-blooded Cherokee. I'm like, Dad, you don't look Indian.
What's her name? Pocahontas there? What's her name?
No.
Elizabeth Warren.
Elizabeth Warren.
No, my dad's 87. He just had his carotid arteries open, and he's still hallucinating after the surgery. So let's give him a little prayer. But Dad, the day I said, Dad, Sherry and I did our DNA, and there's no Cherokee. Well, maybe not y'all, but it is in me. And I was like, we're just not.
That's not how it works, man.
we're not even going to argue with you, Pops. If your grandmother had some Cherokee in me, trust me, it has shown up. Maybe not y'all, but I am. So he's been a good provider for many years, and so as he nears his final decade or so of life, we'll let him believe what he wants to believe. Matter of fact, he's 80, almost 87. But I will tell you, and my mother, they're both in. They're in. Let's just say they're in the 11th hour or 11 o'clock hour of their lives, maybe a little more. So at this point, if they want to believe that they're Nabisco snacks, then by gosh, they're Nabisco snacks, and we'll celebrate it.
Well, it is 2024. You can be whatever you want.
You can, and that's the beautiful thing, because I want to be a knife maker.
Oh, okay.
Therefore I am, and my pronouns are it, will, and cut.
There you go. I approve that message.
So, hey, just so everybody knows, I hope that you're going out to knivestemplars.com. We got, always something there to add. And, you'll see a little bit about us and what we're doing. And as things change, we want you to keep up with us. Sign up for the newsletter there as well. Additionally, we've got something coming up here next month in April. It's at Batson's, and let's look up Batson's Blade Symposium online, and it's going to be down in Tannehill, Alabama, and there's going to be several classes. You can camp out there. I'm actually taking a fly rod because there's a stock trout stream that runs through there. There may be some carryover trout, so while everybody's beating on forges, Dum-Dum's going to be out in the river trying to catch some trout, but I won't have any competition because they'll all be making knives. I'll walk over and talk knives occasionally if the fish aren't biting. But also want to make sure you guys are paying attention and visiting TR Maker, and you can find him at trmaker.com. Since 1980, TR Maker has offered high quality and fast service from Istanbul, Turkey. That's right in the center, the heart, the capital of Turkey, to every country in the world. Check out their line of knife making tools and make your job easier and more precise. You can't do without their products once you discover them. And I found out something else cool about Istanbul this week. I belong to a group called Skjegmen Klubben. That's Norwegian for beard club. Told you I had some Norwegian in me. Skjegmen Kniver, Beardman Knives, Skjegmen Futikus, Bigfoot, bearded Bigfoot guy. So anyway, all these Norwegian guys, they fly to Istanbul and they come back on planes with their heads all wrapped up in gauze, with their heads looking darker and looks like a dot matrix printer went over, because I guess Istanbul is the capital of hair transplant and plugs and all that of Europe. So they actually, guys would go into hiding years ago after that. Now they go back on the plane taking selfies of themselves with their new plugs. So, hey, while you're there picking up some great knife making tools, get some hair, Otis here. Get some hair.
No. I embrace
Eric, fill in the beard. It's good. Fill in the beard, Eric, while you're there. Fill in the beard.
Nope.
So, Otis here, what are you working on, brother?
Forging. Took a couple of pages out of Eric's book and forging.
Do you forge cold steel with just your hands, or do you heat it up and heat it with a hammer?
Oh, bright yellow hot, and pound it with a 5-pound hammer.
You're getting so good, I figured you would just...
Hey, look at it.
With your hands.
Look at it. Look at Popeye's arms, right?
Those are some guns. Look at those.
Only the right one.
They have no more hair than your head, but hey, they are beautiful. They are beautiful.
Only the right one. Yep.
Only the right one. You don't want to see that. Well, I mean, the left one is getting good as well, because I gotta grab that those tongs with the death grip,
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
So, yeah, that works too. So now, I mean, I've been working on a small buoy. I started on Sunday. I was gonna go big and do like a 40-something layer, but midway through the forging process, I said, screw that. I want to be known as the low layer master, because it's too much work to stretch this thing out and double stack it. So, so forget it.
Yep.
And then the next day I forged my guard. So, I'm forging everything now, from the blade to the guard and everything. So, yeah, good stuff, man.
Nice.
I'm in love with this process.
I really enjoy watching this giant step for man that you have made. It's a giant leap for man, I guess, because it's really encouraging to see your aptitude and understanding of moving that steel and turning it into something beautiful from all those layers, and also beating the heck out of it without a press at that. I was at work this week, and the place I was at had ordered a 50-ton hydraulic press.
Oh yeah, baby.
And I was like, you guys could put that in the back of my car. And it was about the size of a refrigerator. I'm like, you guys could put that in the back of my car, and I can guarantee you'd have great, safety visits from here to eternity, or at least till I retire. And they said they were going to get great safety visits regardless. So I agreed with them, and I said, well, you can keep it, but man, take care of that, because I would take care of that. So, but it was cool. 50 tons. Yeah, it was nice to see that thing.
Yeah.
So what does Chicken Factory use a 50-ton press for?
Well, we are a poultry processing complex, and very high tech.
Chickens with that thing?
No, sir. I must say that the process of producing a edible, consistently cut, quality product that you look for through your grocer or through your butcher or whoever, it is rocket science. Now, I used to work in the industry that made solar cells for outer space, and constructing these things. Well, deconstructing a poultry into a similar shape, a similar size, similar quality, similar texture, cut, everything is. I have so much respect for the scientists and the vets and everybody that goes into this and the people that make the cuts. It's a beautiful product. So I'm not getting defensive by any means. I just like to talk about how cool it is what we do feeding the world. And let me tell you one thing. When recession or depression hits, we will only sell knives out of necessity for people to take care of themselves physically. People still have to eat, and if they can't catch it on the line and they run out of bullets, trust me, they'll still be buying chickens, because chickens are a great, great protein. God produces a great thing there. But what do they use a press for? They use it for probably doing some shaping on things that they do with our equipment, and also it has the ability to press things together. So if you've got gears or motors or bearings or things like that, to the magnitude of 50 tons, I'm not sure, but I was kind of awestruck because typically I see a hand hydraulic press where you pump it in, like the car jack type that you just pump it up, and
Yep.
but they had one that was full hydraulic, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I've never seen one of these in one of these places before.
Did you get a safety violation for drooling in the chicken factory?
No, but they did call an ambulance because they thought I was having a stroke. I just stood there staring. So,
okay. glad you didn't
Just
stroke
like-
out.
just stroked out.
Randomly, just roll your forge into the chicken place.
It wasn't.
And
It
then
wasn't.
bring your still.
It was in the maintenance
Just-
shop. It was in the maintenance shop. That had been perfect for
There
it.
you go.
Matter of fact,
Perfect.
most maintenance shops I walk into, I always would like, man, a forge and an anvil would go really well right here because they're very very well equipped. But hey, I'm sure Otis here, his day job is kind of like, it'd be nice to have the forge in this and here in between customers and just kind of knock some things out because you got your tools and everything with you.
Yeah, well, man, I haven't been having a whole lot of spare time lately.
Yeah.
It gotten busy. I mean, people got them tax returns in, and they started buying cars.
Mhm.
Like last week,
Yep.
I had 35 inspections. This week, I had another 35 inspections.
Wow.
And equals to about actually 7 a day, which is quite a lot of cars to do.
So it takes some time to do an inspection then.
It takes usually
Well-
about an hour per vehicle, but I
Wow.
have to account for re-inspections and time talking to customers and explaining why their vehicles fail, that they shouldn't be crying, and it is
So
worth
you're part
spending the money.
psychologist.
So in his state, their state inspections are like super in depth. In Texas, heck, 2025, you don't even get inspections anymore.
Yeah, it's like, could you drive it to the
2025, they're
office?
ending it.
It passes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And there's no more state inspections after
And it's about
2025
to
in
get
Texas.
tighter too in Maryland. We're about to get some oil leaks are not going to pass inspection. Things like this. Check engine
Wow.
lights are not going to pass. They're going really, really
Well,
hard.
they
have
gotta
some,
come up-
Jeez.
They got to come up with that $113 million they're going to do to use to fix all the cherry trees down in Washington.
Jeez. If your car has wheels, brakes, preferred,
preferred.
headlights, turn signals. If not, you just use your hand signals. Man, we have rat rods here that are Ford Model Ts that are 2 inches off the ground, that are put together with framing stuff from their shop, and the gas tank is like a oil drum off of like some ship that's like 100 years old, and like they have like Jack Daniels bottles for their overflows for their radiators. Like
I love
it
it.
is
I love it.
no joke. Like you would never be able to pass these. The seats are made of steel. There's no padding in the seats, so the seats are just a welded steel bucket seat that has like dimple. If I started getting into all that, some people wouldn't understand what I'm saying, but
I know what you're talking about.
it's absolutely the craziest, most unsafe things on the freaking planet. And they're like, yeah, those inspect it, call it done. It's fantastic. It's only got front brakes. That's fine. It doesn't need rear brakes. You can't fit them.
Well, you could dive out of it at the last minute if you had to, but
You
in
can't dive out of this at all.
Well, in Alabama, you don't have. I've never had to have a car inspected here, but in Michigan, you did. Interestingly enough, there one of the big things was in the Rust Belt, you weren't allowed to have visible rust through, so it couldn't have a hole through on your car. So you wouldn't believe the amount of old junkers that you would see that were literally duct tape wrapped before wraps were cool from bumper to bumper, just to hide the rust
I'd be
throughs.
looking for those camouflages,
Yeah.
If
Well,
I
this
see
is
a
Michigan.
car and it got some undercoat sprayed in there, for me it's an immediate red flag, and I start poking. And I will find it. If it's there, I will find it.
I'd pass you a few McDonald's coupons and say, "Hey, bud, just look past these." Or no, better yet, no Popeye's chicken and a Coke 2-liter coupon. I could buy you with that.
Okay. Maybe.
Might even just show up with a bucket of Popeyes and a Coke in the front seat, so when it comes back, it's sitting there. Just make yourself comfortable while you inspect it, so to speak.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
Everything's got a price. Jason, you said you hadn't been out in the shop this week. You've been on the road for a couple weeks.
I've been on the road a couple of weeks. I went and took a temporary job to go gain some experience, and worked really long hours and got hit and kicked and punched and bit and all kinds of fun. It was definitely an adventure.
What kind of job was that?
WWE wrestling.
So I actually work for a group of facilities that do inpatient mental retardation treatment. So it's kind of a sort of a mental hospital type scenario.
But they still have those things, man, because we need more of those. There's a lot of nuts out there.
Yeah, Texas still has.
This is beyond nuts, though.
I don't like nuts. This is my people.
Yeah. This is like his chicken.
These folks.
This is like your chicken question. Yeah.
Yeah. So these folks have intellectual disabilities. You don't have to live in an institution just because of that, but sometimes they have extra behavior problems that get them in trouble with the cops and things, or they have extra medical needs, so they just need more skilled medical than they can get in town. So they come live with us, and we take care of them and try to keep them safe and happy and healthy. But they aren't always happy or safe. So I was out there in the mix doing some work. So,
did you read the newspaper, hear about the story this morning about the two family members? It's just kind of a sad story, but their daughter suffered from Down syndrome or mental retardation, and she was in her 30s, but for the last 12 years, she would not leave a couch, and they didn't force her to. So this couch became laden with urine and feces, and basically the coroner said she was melted to the couch, and they had gone away for the weekend and left her there because she just wouldn't leave. And I don't know the situation around it. I'm not going to get into that. It's very sad, but they both got 40 years apiece for it. So, and they're
many of the ones that we serve come from backgrounds that are quite challenging like that. Yeah. So
right.
Terrible stories, but we work hard every day to, again, keep them safe and happy.
Yes.
Well,
now, the problem is
that is not what I meant.
You're talking about the criminally insane crazies that do it to themselves.
Yeah, I mean, in a case like this is really, really sad. I mean, I knew some people back home that was like, in a bad spot, and, being in a poor country, that's where it even gets worse. Because there is
for sure
not a whole lot of basically there is not any
there's no services,
assistance or service, right?
Correct.
And
I believe it's better. It's existentially better when the family can take care of them. But we all know that that's not the case all the time, and so
I have a second cousin that's in an adult care program right now, who is. And it's good that he's got that. It's kind of like going to high school every day, and he's in his 20s, but it gives him an outlet. And with that being said, it's probably pretty good that we just mentioned Redeem Steel, because if you go to redeemsteel.com, they're made up of craftsmen of all sorts, bladesmiths, blacksmiths, metalworkers, woodworkers, leatherworkers, etc. If you've got skills, they can use you. They use their talents to build homes for the homeless, give water to the thirsty, feed the hungry, share the good news of Jesus Christ, and so much more all over the world. Guys, if you want to get involved with an organization, a nonprofit that uses the works of their hands and their words of their lips to make lasting impacts on those that they serve, look up redeemsteel.com. Support them or get involved with them any way you can. They're great knife makers. And Billy, who runs and started this organization, I believe you can find him over at yellowroseforge.com. Makes some beautiful blades. Redeemsteel.com.
So after a few weeks of rowdiness, I've been home a little bit this week. today I started a little bit of outdoor work. It was a beautiful day. It's starting to be springtime. We're not quite past our last freeze yet, but it's time to prep. So we tilled the garden and started working on the front flower bed. My wife wanted a water trough that had rusted out from the ranch, and she wanted to make that into a raised flower bed. So if you're going to have a water trough, you have to have a windmill. So I spent the afternoon fabricating a windmill from scratch just because I like building stuff.
You got to have them both.
Well, additionally, if you've got a windmill, you've got to have a trebuchet as well.
Right?
That's on the list. The list. An unlicensed trebuchet actually is my preference.
Well, as long as you keep it under trajectory distance of 100 yards, I think you're okay. Doesn't require to be licensed.
I don't know about Maryland, but in Texas, there is no licensing requirement for a trebuchet.
Nope. Not at all. You can have them.
Hey, so when I told you guys that I was in, if I didn't mention, I was in Georgia this week, I sat within 5 miles of Pop's Knife Supply all week long. I was in 2 to 3 miles of Adam Love, who is a great knife maker out there, and didn't get to see anybody because we got tied up what I was doing all week. I was going to say, well, maybe I can. I left a day early out of necessity. I just got the work done, and I thought maybe I can stay another day and shoot over to Pops. And I thought it'll be a waste of time. I've got to get on over. So Pops has great shipping. PopsKnifeSupplies.com. They've been there for 40 years. James Poplin started them. But when you order something, man, it goes out the next day, and they charge you the shipping. And what the difference between their charge and the actual shipping cost, they return that to you. So Alan, Joey, and Dirk are doing a great job. So go visit them at PopsKnifeSupplies.com. So I'm so sad I didn't get to go, but I've got some of Oleg Bashkovit's wood at the house. So the knife I'm working on, and I hope to actually get it finished after like 300 weeks of talking about it. So I sanded it out to 600 and then brought it back with the Scotch Brite, as Otis here and I had talked about. Looks very good. And then I held it under a fluorescent light, because a fluorescent light not only will show all of your facial blemishes, it'll show every blemish on a knife. And I found some very faint diagonal scratches from the 400 still on there. So I've got about 15 or 20 minutes, because I know Jason will look and see those diagonal scratches in the future. So I'm going to go back and spend 15 or 20 minutes getting those out, and then going back with dragging that Scotch Brite down it until I get that beautiful finish on it again that Otis here is so good at it. I want to emulate. With that being said,
wait.
Yes.
What I want to hear about is your experience using the coat hanger.
We've mentioned that, I hope I've mentioned it to enough to pay you enough homage that the coat hanger has been instrumental in keeping that guard in place and being able to make sure that it truly is a flush finish. It's a beautifully machined finish with files and file guides and hand, but to be able to have that set there where you can examine it from different angles, show it to people. You wouldn't believe the number of people have congratulated, or excuse me, have mentioned, what a great idea. Where did you get that tool? And I'm like, I made it with a coat hanger. And I said, I actually taught Otis Pinto to do this as well. Check out some of his posts. You'll see him using it also. And then I come clean, of course, and I do thank you for that idea. So tomorrow I'm going to finish sanding. I'm going to etch my maker's mark in it, and then I'm going to go to the I kept telling Jason Fry I was going to use ammonia, but I'm actually going to use 30% vinegar. So, guys, I'm going to soak it in 30% vinegar. It's 8670 hardened. It's got a little normal hamon, just natural hamon in it, where some of the thicker steel was. So, right in the center of the blade, it's got this matching hamon on both sides that I think will look kind of cool. So, guys, walk me and the listeners through a nice vinegar etch finish on a knife. What do I need to do tomorrow?
You're going to do the same thing that you did leading up to it. So you're going to do your vinegar soak, and then you can still hit it with if you have a fine Scotch Brite, hit it with the fine Scotch Brite after the vinegar soak, and it will put this deeper, darker. It's not just your normal satin finish. It's a darker gray version of that satin finish, but it's still going to be super clean.
Yeah.
Like that.
When you
That's
say
one of my favorite
fine
finishes
Scotch
that I
Brite,
put on my knives. Is that
when you say
so they
fine
have
Scotch
a
Brite,
white.
there are 3 different colors. I think you're talking about the yellow one.
Or the white one.
Well, white one.
White one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
white.
the
And,
white one's the one for that kind of stuff. I use it on my
Yeah.
Damascus etches too.
I've been. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, I don't have
There's
that available.
you can get them from several different stores.
Yeah,
You can get them
paint
from
supply.
Lowe's and
Auto
Home
parts.
Depot.
Okay, that was my
Auto
next
parts,
question.
paint
Like
supply.
That was my next question. Could I get that at Lowe's? Because I've just got the dark green
Now that
heavy
green.
ones.
No. Stay away from that
No,
green.
no,
I
no.
use the gray one.
Yeah. Yep. So I get them in a package of white, red, or white, burgundy, and gray. And I use the white and gray about 90% of the time. And yeah, that's what you're gonna do. The nice thing about the vinegar is it doesn't eat the heck out of the steel, but it's a lot different than acid because you're gonna leave it in the vinegar for a while. Compared to doing an acid etch is like little short periods of time. Vinegar soaking, I've had things that I'm trying to get through forge scale in vinegar for 12 hours. And it's just fine.
So what about the mild? What about the mild steel guard?
Same thing. It doesn't really. That 30% is not going to really. It's going to correct, but it will separate and dissolve the forge scale. What you need to do, my thing that I do if I'm using a vinegar is I'll let it soak for like 5 hours, and then I'll scrub it with the plastic brush, and then I'll let it soak again, just so that I can get the scale that's on there off, and then let it soak again, and then scrub it again if need be. And if I got to soak it some more, I'll soak it some more. And everything's going to be super simple for you. And then once you get it done like that, you're going to hit it with your Scotch-Brite pad, just the same way you would do it whenever you're putting your finish on it. You go one direction, pulls, and I typically use some CLP whenever I'm doing the Scotch-Brite.
Now, I'm looking at the Lowe's app right now, and while I don't see any other colors than the heavy-duty green, I do see one that says non-scratch Scotch-Brite non-scratch polyurethane cleaning pad.
Yeah, you can go to like an auto paint supply.
Oh, that's right, AutoZone or something, maybe, possibly.
They also have them at Walmart.
Too.
Yep,
Yeah.
Amazon, Walmart.
Yeah.
Harbor Freight has some.
Yeah, Auto Paint Supply is awesome. They
Harbor
have
Freight.
all kinds of different grits and
abrasives
and everything. Yeah.
I will check that out.
I think the last ones I got were actually from Ace Hardware. I got the last little bundle of them. It came with like 6 of each color. I think I got those at Ace. And,
how long should I soak these?
A long time.
Like I was saying,
couple or 3 hours and check it, and then do it again.
Got you.
Yep.
And then do it again as many times as
And
it
then
takes
do
till
it
you
again.
like it.
So you're talking to review the hamon that he's got on that blade, or you're talking about just removing the scales?
Just removing
just putting a patina on, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, removing any scale and doing the patina.
Okay.
And vinegar soak is perfect for that. It really is. What I've done in the past is if I want them to stand out, but for it to not be super dark, I'll do 2 5-minute soaks in the ferric and let it actually eat the little bit softer steel away a little bit. That way you actually get that definition of the hamon a little bit more. And then I'll take and clean all of that off, all the darkness off of it. And then I'll do a vinegar soak, and you'll get that like light gray patina on the blade plus the subtle hamon, and it'll have a real cool finish on there.
Well, I noticed that when I went to AutoZone, I put in scrub pads, and they came up with Duralast brake pads. Can I use those?
You probably could.
Well, I may have to go online, but here looking around me, so I will be looking. Walmart is my last choice here in town, and we'll see what happens. If not, I may have to order them online. Regardless, I'm looking forward to this. I guess I could also take some Scotch-Brite. That's I've got several Scotch-Brite pads that are worn down to almost a really fine.
I'm going to send you a link of ones to get from Amazon. So
I just texted him one too.
Cool.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool.
If you're going to order it, there are several that you can get that are perfect.
Right, and we're talking about finishing abrasives here, but I tell you what, if you're looking for really good abrasives, and matter of fact, I do want you to know that really good abrasives come from Phoenix Abrasives, and that's at phoenixabrasives.com. They offer great prices, selection, and quick delivery. They have complete inventory of belts, discs, rolls, wheels, and anything else that you need to get the job done right. If you enter Templars 10 at checkout, you're going to get 10% off your next order. So go out and check out Phoenix Abrasives. All right, Otis here showing me.
I just ordered some Phoenix Abrasives for the first time in a long, long time. So hopefully I'll get out this weekend and be able to tell you guys about them.
Did you try Templars 90 to see what happened?
No, I think I just stuck with Templars 10.
I don't think anything happens, but it's at least worth a try.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got 2 big boxes, and I'm writing a review for Ameribraid right now on the knife I'm doing, and I'm using 2 different brands, Ameribraid and another brand. So I've got a comparison, right? And Phoenix is doing quite well. They're close. I mean, what is the other brand I'm using? The gold. Help me out here, guys. Rolled gold. No, that's a pretzel. Gold something.
What are you talking about?
Abrasives that you can. I thought you can get them on Amazon. Something gold.
I don't.
You don't buy your abrasives on Amazon.
I really don't. I stopped doing that about 4 years ago.
Yeah. Well, so I've got 4 years worth of abrasives. Let me see. Sand, paper. Here you go, guys. It's happening as we talk about it. Duragold. And actually, I've seen, if you look in some of Tyrell's videos, you can see Duragold in the background. So he's using Duragold as well on some.
Nice.
I know he uses a variety of different ones. So it's a good sandpaper. But have made the switch over to Phoenix as I'm using up the last of that. Hey, Jason. I'm going to tell somebody about some great grinders, but when I get done, do you have a tip for us this week?
I can.
All right. Well, I'm
talk about those grinders, and I'll go fetch up a book.
There you go. Because you know what? Ameribraid grinders and accessories. You can find them at Ameribraid.com. You know, Eric and Kevin over at Ameribraid, they've developed one of the best grinders in the world, accessories and tools, some of the best on the market. Take a look at one of their 3 packages. Now, I'm going to recommend you go ahead and get the Mastery package, which is the top of the line, and then select the motor and VFD that you're looking for. But they also have a get grinding package as well. That's still the same machine, wonderful package, just doesn't come with all the accessories. So when you call Ameribraid, I just also want you to know you're going to be speaking to the owners, guaranteeing some of the best customer service around. That's Ameribraid.com. Go out and see them today. And you heard me mention a little earlier about Oleg Bashkovic. I've got one of his blocks to put as a handle on my knife here. If you go to knife-wood.com, Oleg makes great stabilized wood, and he makes this over in Russia and sends it to your home wherever you are on the planet. Once you use his products, you'll be sold on the quality, the artistic ability, and the customer service that this fine gentleman provides. So go out and see knife-wood.com. And now, the international and always interesting theatrical and poetic stylings of Jason Fry and his knife tips for the maker. Go ahead, Jason.
That's a lot to live up to, Mr. Chip.
Oh.
All right. So this is tip number 88 in my book, Knife Making Hacks. 384 tips to make knives like the pros. I thought this was appropriate considering the way the conversation has gone tonight. This is tip number 88. It says, make friends with makers who have more experience than you do. Stay humble, ask questions, and look for ways to help serve them, and you'll likely receive more than you're able to give. So, again, in the internet world, we have access to all kinds of people. When I started even 15 years ago, you kind of almost had to get somebody's phone number and cold call them if you wanted contact, right? Now there are knife makers, mastersmiths, guild members, qualified people all over the world that are a Facebook message away or an Instagram message away. And that's a wonderful evolution of the craft. But it's still not quite a replacement for becoming actual friends with people. So, the more you can hang out with folks that are better than you, the better you'll get.
I know.
What do they say about if you're the smartest man in the room, you're in the wrong room?
That's true. Right? Otis here would have never learned anything about the coat hanger or guard retainer if he hadn't been friends with me.
Right?
I think that's the other way around. Yeah.
It was the other way. It was the other way around. Excuse me for getting. I always get it wrong. It's an age thing. But hey, no. Not only that, so many things that we have to offer. Getting involved in your community knife making organizations or visiting shows like Blade Show or Battens or any of the things that are coming up is always very beneficial. Makes us all better makers. You kind of reminded me, 15 years ago, we were all in forums posting and fighting with each other back then. And we were posting JPEGs and there was YouTube at the time and it was, still quite pixelated back then. So, man, look at where the world has come. I mean, you can get real-time learning. Hey, I had a customized MySpace. I was programming my page way back then.
Ooh, fancy!
Oh yeah. The HTML code.
I was good. It's interesting. Yeah, I was writing HTML code and what is it, PHP or whatever for, and neither one of those things are of any value anymore. And like everybody else, like so many people, I go to GoDaddy and use their website builder, and actually does a pretty dang good job. My website's not ugly by any means. So, your
website is nice. It's a nice looking website. I like your website.
Well, thank you very much for that. But it's just their thing and just having a little artistic ability. But your sites look good too. I wish I had a Forged in Fire picture like Jason. So many times I wanted to Photoshop my face on Jason's body, but I've never been that skinny or fit looking, so it just wouldn't go over very well. Be a fat head on a guy that's got
Photoshop. I'm gonna Photoshop Eric's 5-pound hammer into my hand.
Yeah,
there you go. Now I'll tell you this: the first time I saw your website, Chip, I thought to myself, I definitely do not take enough pictures of my knives. I was looking at your website, and this was a couple of years ago. And you had like one of your knives on there, and there was like 246 images of that knife build, and it turns out the knife was only like 3.5 inches long. But I was like,
I remember. Is that the one he took into Blade Show?
I don't want to have to live up to. I don't want to have to live up to any expectations, guys. Just tell it like it is. It's small. It's a small knife.
But yeah, it was. I just thought, man, I do not add enough pictures on my website because
you know what I found with that early on is that if people are going to buy your knife, what makes it special? They want to see it built. So I post those pictures so they can see it built in pictures, even those knives back then as I still do today. And I probably don't take as many pictures today, but I still take quite a few because I've got to put knife-maker.com all over social media every day. The only person that posts more social is Brandon Geis. That guy is a filmmaking, self-promoting machine. I want to be Mr. Geis. He is fancy. But I noticed that a lot of people started posting. People tend to follow things that they see in social media, and people started posting a lot of their build-alongs on just general posts and this, that, and the other. It started picking up over a couple years. But I also saw a lot of people starting to emulate what you were doing. Some well-known people emulating what you were doing in one way or the other on YouTube, Eric. So, that's the stuff that it's just like having MySpace, and now it's Facebook and Instagram and all the other stuff. It just continues to grow the skill sets, and, plagiarism or copying is not necessarily a bad thing as long as, people get credit when it's important. If it's just moving the needle along, hey, it's just fine because it keeps us all growing. Knife-maker.com. There's nothing.
And I will say, since we're doing that, I'll say that I do have autographed copies of my book available at my website, frycustomknives.com. You can buy it off of Amazon if you want, just a fast copy that may be a little cheaper or something, but I will sign them for you if you buy them from me. So
he will even put on there for an extra penny, to my best friend and best knife maker I know, Jason Fry. Not himself. He'll sign it, Jason Fry. But he will give you something to live up to.
And it's a good book. It's a good book. So if people are debating on getting that book, you really should. It's a good book with a lot of good, useful little tips in it. I've read it and gone through it, and he gave me one a little while back, and I thumbed through it whenever I'm just sitting there in the shop waiting for something to happen. And it's a good book.
Yeah, it's the best. It's the best knife making toilet book that there is.
Well, or shop book, And if you're
waiting on glue to dry,
and if you're like Josh Howard and your crappers in your shop, it's great. It's great crapper shop book too. It's all three.
I'm not that lucky.
Oh man,
I found I wrote it a couple of years ago now, and it's like reading the Bible, except that it's not this good. But it's like it in this way: there's stuff in there that and that you forget, and you read it again, and you're like, "Holy crap! I haven't been doing that." Right?
Well, I see it. It's like one of those daily. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I would say so. It's good to stay fresh because the stuff in the book is true, but so simple that it falls through the cracks sometimes. And you talk about a devotional book. That was actually the original idea was, what if I made a devotional book, except it was all like knife making tips and pretty pictures.
True.
That's what the book is. That's what it was built to be.
And that's it. It's like, my wife keeps a devotional calendar. It's the same one we've had for 30 years. It just gets flipped every year. It doesn't have a year on it. It's just got a day, and each morning when we go in, you just kind of casually look over and see what it was. And you remembered reading it last year. You've seen it so many times that just kind of reinforces that scripture. And then and I won't call it the scripture according to Jason, but the good common sense knife. No. But the good common sense knife making tips, tricks, and beauty secrets that Jason puts in that book. And they are beauty secrets because sometimes it helps you get that last 10% of that knife where you need it.
Yep.
Hey, and I also want to bring up Majestic Forge. Tomorrow I'll be drilling a hole through my Majestic Forge to install a thermocouple into that hot box. And you can find them at majesticforge.com. They manufacture gas forges ranging from 2 to 5 burners. And there are many different to choose from. You can be sure that you can find a Majestic Forge to suit all of your needs. Guys, I do believe Bob Dylan is using a Majestic Forge in his metalwork. So, it's the Forge of the Stars. You can find it on Forged in Fire. Many different forges out there, but with a Majestic Forge, you can never go wrong. It's been working great for me. So thank you for that. Hey, Eric, you got any little segment we were going to open up tonight on questions? And you were mentioning that you get quite a few questions through the Rivers experience, and I was kind of hoping you might be able to lead this off for us on that.
Yeah. So, and this kind of goes into the first one. Kind of goes into a topic that we were talking about just a minute ago.
Well, let me ask you this: do you want some lead-in music for this segment? Let me do it. Let me do it. Is that good, or should we try this? I like that one.
That one. Right. That's the one.
Questions with Eric Rivers. All right, Eric.
There we go.
Welcome to the show.
So I'll start off the first one with, is it okay to sell knives with a belt finish on them?
If you've got a customer.
So you have a lot of people that, because there's like I wouldn't say there's two frames of thought. There's a whole bunch of frames of thought on the finishes on the knives. You got some people that will polish it shinier than any mirror that you could buy anywhere. And then you've got people that will go up to 120 grit, then hit it with a Scotch-Brite belt and go, that's the knife. So what are y'all's opinions on the different finishes, and which knives would you prefer them to have specific finishes?
So to me, it goes along with who your customer is and what your price point is. Like if I'm skinning a deer, the deer doesn't care, right? He's not going to say, man, I wish you'd use a finer finish on that knife. But, if the knife is $100 and it has a belt finish and a forge finish and a Scotch-Brite, whatever, okay. I wouldn't necessarily expect real clean grinds. I wouldn't necessarily expect perfect plunges on a knife that has a pretty simple finish. Now I will say that there are very well known knife makers who do a very good belt finish, right? So they'll use like a Moen platen or a rotary platen or something and put a 600 or 800 grit belt finish. That's a different animal, right? So I don't know. I've always thought the finish should match the knife.
Yeah, I've seen
in terms of price point and function.
Yeah, I've seen even up to a mirror polish on a belt. So what finish exactly are we talking about?
I've done mirror polishes
with the Scotch-Brite or up to a mirror polish, right?
Yeah.
And I think it also depends what you want to use that knife for. If I want a beater that I want to just trash it, and I wouldn't mind, belt finish is fine. But if I want something a bit finer, more elegant, a bit more ABS-ish, right? And, I would rather have something that is hand finished, satin, or even maybe a Damascus or something like that. But I don't think there's a wrong answer. It depends on your budget and depends who your customers are and depends how they're going to use it and if they're going to use it at all. So, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what do you got, Chip?
I would say it depends on if you have a customer for what you're making. I've seen Deer Creek Knives is somebody that I've seen put many different finishes. He's out of west side of Michigan. Put many different type finishes from a very roughly ground 36 grit to some very fine finishes. I don't think I've seen him do anything mirror polished, but they're works of art in what they do. And I think the customer is going to dictate what they want to see, and that'll dictate the finish. Who's our buddy over in Georgia that does those beautiful polished knives? He's making them fast, retired fella. But everything he puts out has just got them.
Mike Jilton.
Yeah. Gorgeous knives, and
absolutely. That's what I meant when I said mirror finish on a belt.
Yeah, and he's using a cork belt or something at the end to put that finish on there. They're just beautiful knives. So for someone like me, while that's a beautiful knife, I would hate to have to keep it clean. So that's why I want something that's that's going to patina and have a little darker finish. Doesn't take anything away from the beauty of his knives. They're gorgeous if that's what you're personally looking for. But personal preference for me is like I love Eric's vinegar finishes. I love Otis Sears finishes. I love the stone acid washed finish. And sometimes I like them all. So it just depends. It kind of goes with what the personality of that knife is that you're doing. So what does it really matter if it makes you happy? And if you want to sell knives, do what makes the customer happy. And if you're only belt finishing because you're too lazy to hand sand, then shame on you. Learn to hand sand, because that can be, as Otis here says, that's part of the fun and part of the job of making knives. Hand sanding puts a lot of ethic, a lot of sweat, a lot of, knives aren't made to be easy to manufacture.
Sometimes blood too.
Yes, and I've had my share of that here recently with, Scotch Brite will make. I was hand sanding this past weekend, and I was like, "Look at where's this rust coming from?" And I looked down, and my fingers just gushing blood in the Windex. And I know you guys have seen that before. You're like, "What is this red rust?"
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, "Oh crap, I'm bleeding." But don't not sand blades because you're too lazy.
I wanted to add a little bit of old time perspective. So Bob Lovelace and Steve Johnson that followed him, Dalton Holder, a lot of the old time high end knife makers, all the way up through guys like Gary Langley that still do the same thing today, have a technique to do very clean, hollow ground stainless knives that are 100% off the belt. And maybe a buffer a little bit as well at the end. But again, the technique has to do with a soft wheel and increasing grits. And then finally some, like I say, a lot of them use a cork belt with green compound or something. And they will run them to 2000 grit on a belt, and then run them with compound. And they are as mirror finish dead nuts perfect as you can imagine. While I'm with Chip, I hand sand everything. Like if I leave something machine finish, I'm being lazy, and that's not okay. But that's just me. I would say finish it to the best of your ability. If you want to crank them out and do them rough, and you've got customers, right? There's no bad deals if everybody consents, right? But
yep.
I would say as a knife maker, though, for your own personal pride, try to improve every single one, whether that's improving the quality of your machine finish or switching over to a high-end hand finish or a high-end machine finish. I mean, there's always room to do better.
Yeah, of course, and there's also the final goal that you have, right? For example, my goal is to next step in my career is becoming a journeyman, right? And you cannot be a journeyman on a belt finished knife. It has to be
correct,
hand sanded to satin, right? So that is that. But if you don't care about it, man, I don't think there's a wrong answer. It's all about what you want to do and what's your capability.
Yeah, I agree. And for me, I'll see different people do different things. I'll see a $450 knife that has a belt finish on it. It's like a chef's knife, because that was like the thing that has been popular for the last couple of years is these belt finish, Scotch Brite finish chef's knives, monosteels and all that. You see a lot of them at different knife shows, blade shows. But for me, again, Depending on what you're doing, you really need to hand sand it. I'm not a big fan of turning in one of my doing one of my competition pieces for the YouTube challenges and doing a belt finish on them, unless I'm doing a specific finish, which is that 36 grit deep finish that I have to go through, and then I still hand sand that,
Yeah,
just like
those
it
are
was
awesome too.
Damascus. It's like there's finishes that you can do that are slightly different, but for me, just like everyone has said, it's personal preference and what you're able to complete with the tools that you have and with the time that you have. If you're a person who's making 50 knives a month, you might be doing a lot of belt finishes because you don't have time to hand
Oh
sand them
yeah,
all.
you'll be cramping your hands like crazy if
And
you're hand sanding 50 knives in a month.
yes, so there's always going to be times and places for it. Now, there is a there. So I get asked this question pretty often, and I have answered it a couple of different ways. But does the knife handles that you use that are wood have to be stabilized?
No. I'd rather have stabilized, but it doesn't have to be. I mean, you would want some kind of wood that is already dried and seasoned, so it won't be contracting in you. But it doesn't really have to be stabilized. I like stabilized just because it's more stable, quote unquote. It's not going to shrink on me. It's not going to expand. Whereas a natural wood will. But it doesn't have to be stabilized, no.
So I think a little bit about the history of humanity and all the different knife handles over time.
Right.
And it's only in the last 10 years or 15 have we had stabilized wood at all.
Right.
So I have a hard time saying you have to, right? Because the rest of history would suggest you don't. But at the same time, it is an innovation that improves the final product. I think at a certain level and price point, the expectation is that you're using stabilized wood. Now, that's just where the market is. There are some woods that don't need it. Like, good luck stabilizing cocobolo; it just doesn't go, or ironwood just doesn't go. Or other woods like mesquite that are just really naturally dense and stable.
That Gidgee that I just got done using.
Yeah, Gidgee doesn't need it. It's super tight and solid. It doesn't help. But then there are other things like all the your buckeye and maple burls, like the dyed stuff that comes out all crazy. That stuff wouldn't exist without stabilizing technology. I mean, that wouldn't be a knife handle at all without the ability to harden it up a little bit.
Yep,
so,
you're right.
I mean, most of the time I use stabilized, but again, if it's depending on what kind of wood it is, sometimes I don't.
I don't think you guys have seen it. I still have my first hidden tank, and I had no clue as to what I was doing regarding wood to make a handle out of. So I was on a hike with my son, and I saw this sapling there about 2 inches round. I cut a piece of it, took it home, green, made a handle out of it. Perfect up to today. And I made that, when I first started mucking around with hidden things about 2.5 years ago. So, I mean,
oh yeah,
yeah. My second knife that I still have in the shop. It's gross, but it has some old pitchy cedar, and at the time I picked up that stick and I was like, man, this sucker's heavy. That must be good. No, it just had tons of sap in it. It's like perfect pitchwood. But again, a long time ago, when you're learning, right? It's like, this one's good and heavy. Let's use that. And I still have that one. It's soft. It's nasty. I wouldn't recommend it, but you kind of start with what you have.
My first knife, the wood off of it. I say the first knife that I ever rehandled. Those I did 2 knives, and they were I used skateboard material because I was making skateboards and stuff like that, and those were what they call hard rock maple. And of course they were resin bonded together and all that. So they actually did pretty good. But the actual knife the first knife I ever made, something that wasn't a knife into a knife, the handle material on that is the wood off of a Nordic track that someone left in the shop. They left it in the 12 by 12 whenever I bought this house. It was just one of the things that were left in there. And so I'm one of those guys that if I see something that is salvageable material wise, I salvage it. And I was sitting here looking at this Nordic track that I was about to get rid of because it didn't really work. And I'm looking at these 1-bys that are like good wood. And I have 2 shelves in my 12 by 12 that still have the Nordic track logo on the shelves that I made. But yeah, the handle material for that knife was off of it.
I do want to say, just put a museum fit on everything and just use 2x4s from Lowe's. It'll be fine.
just 2x4s
from Lowe's with a museum fit and some CA glue to harden it up on the outside.
I've done several wheelbarrow handles. I have a wheelbarrow handle that I bought 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know if it's ash. I'm assuming it's something like that.
I tried with baseball.
All I know
it
is
didn't go too well. With baseball
it's
bat.
with this, whenever you are cutting it or sanding it, it smells like pepper. So it makes your shop smell amazing. It smells like you've been cooking. But the Samurai Challenge sword had that as the scales, and I've used it several times. It's the least expensive material that you can buy to get real long pieces of hardwood.
Oh, yeah. Well, I will tell you, if you can't find the hardwood you're looking for, we have just the doctor that can help, and that is our buddies over at Majestic 4. Or, excuse me, I'm reading the wrong one. Maritime Knife Supply.
Yeah.
I was reading up high on the paper. You can find them at maritimeknifesupply.ca or maritimeknifesupply.com, which will redirect you there to get great products and service from Canada and internationally. Check out Maritime for great deals and service. Excellent shipments of steel have come in recently if you're looking for knife steel, and I know that he's carrying Oleg's wood over there. So in addition to that and everything in between knife making, Maritime is going to be able to help you. And also, so you know that tonight's questions are coming from the Rivers Experience. Our very own Eric Rivers with the Rivers Experience teaches everybody the fine arts of knife making at the Rivers Experience on YouTube or the TRE Workshop on Facebook. Join either one of those groups. Subscribe to, do them both. Subscribe to the Rivers Experience on YouTube so we can get him that YouTube plaque to put in his forge, or the TRE Workshop on Facebook, so you can join in the community with video instruction, live online events, and all kinds of things there. You will become a better knife maker at the Rivers Experience. More about your wood, Eric, your wood question.
Come on, dude, tell us about your wood, yeah?
You guys are silly. You guys are silly.
For me, again, it comes into play what you're going to be making and all of that stuff. I've had a lot of people that I've had this conversation with because, I'll be doing one of my Shop Talk Tuesdays, and the way that I break them down, I typically work on the blade side of it one week, which is we're doing all of the bevel grinding and profiling and sanding and put the finish on it. And then the next week of that build, I do the handle and get all that stuff set up. We put the edge on it and the knife's done. So I get a lot of questions whenever we're doing that section because I'm typically using stabilized wood, or I'm using micarta, or I'm using, some other material. And a lot of people ask that because they want to go to Lowe's and buy some walnut or, some wood that they have there because it's available, and they're wondering what they can do with that. And I'll tell you, if you want to use a wood that is not stabilized, go online, look up Starbond, and all you got to do is just do a CA finish. There are several videos on YouTube teaching people how to put a CA finish on a handle. And all it is basically a really good super glue that you can actually coat your handle with and then sand it and then put another coat on it and sand it. And you basically seal the wood.
When you're
So
sanding,
there,
when you're sanding the CA, you're sanding all the way to the grain of the wood, or you just removing the top layer of the CA?
you're trying to make it smooth. So whenever you put it on there, what I typically do is I'll put the CA glue on, then I'll wipe most of it off. So where you just have a thin layer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sitting there putting a bunch of swirls into it. And then I'll do a light sand. And basically what you want to do is get rid of the shiny. So you get rid of the shiny and it's all one finish. And then do another coat, get rid of the shiny, and make it even.
Well, in between that, you
And-
chew the dried CA glue off of your fingertips
Yep.
and,
Right?
and spit it into the trash.
And that's
we've
pretty
all
much what you gotta
we've
do.
all been there.
So there's just several ways that you can do it. There are other reasons why you would do a CA finish or something like that. So a lot of people will do boiled linseed oil and let it soak in and do that. Boiled linseed oil will typically make your woods darker, and some people don't want their wood to get darker. So if you want your wood to stay the color that it is, you can do a CA glue finish and it will stay nice and light. If you have a wood that is a lighter color, whenever you soak it in boiled linseed oil, it will darken a couple of shades.
Tongue
And
oil too, right?
Tongue oil, same thing. And it's just depending on what you want to do and the finish that you're trying to achieve. And for me, I use woods like Paduke. That's probably not how you pronounce it, but you're not really stabilizing that. Wingay or Winge, same thing. I tend to use woods like that.
Ebony. Ebony.
Yep.
Yeah, or Cocote or Cocobolo,
Yep.
or there's a
Cocobolo.
group of woods that work well with just an oil finish.
Yeah, a little
Yep.
tip about ebony. Yeah, don't do a hot fit. It will split on you.
Oh yeah, stuff cracks if you look at it sideways.
Well, if you use ebony and ivory together, they live together in perfect harmony, just so you know.
That's what they say.
There you go. That's what they say.
Yeah.
I think they wrote sang a song about it or something.
They wrote a song just because of that. That's actually a good tip, Otis. Here, I didn't know that because I would have probably tried that at some point in time.
And ask me how I know that.
You tried it at some point in time.
Man, so I saw somebody today on a YouTube video do something that I hadn't really seen. They hot fit a wall handle for a knife that they were working on directly after forging the knife. So it was still hot. They had just got done forging everything, and they heated the tang up and they hot fit it. And I was thinking to myself, okay, I mean, I guess that works. The reason why I thought it was weird was because you still had to like hand sand and do all of the other stuff.
Grinding, yeah.
I've done three like this already.
I was going to say, those
I've
tuna
done three
cleavers.
like this already.
Yeah, those tuna cleavers, they set them in the handles the same way. Right out of the forge.
Like they just got done forging it and they
are pulling it out of the forge. It has not been fully ground down yet. And they slide it into they've already got a pilot hole in there and they burn it the rest of the way in. And then they beat the tip over at that point. So, yeah.
Well, nice. That's definitely something that I thought was a little unique. I haven't done that yet.
Well,
that was something that because it didn't have if you got a guard or something like that you're putting on the front of it, I could see that. But for me, I'm just looking at it knowing that after you get done doing that, you're going to see some
get some slop
fugliness.
in there, right?
Yep.
Yes, and you're gonna have to fill that with epoxy.
Sure.
Well, to be clear, right? I didn't do exactly right out of the forge. I did my hot fit before heat treating the knife, but the thing was already set.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, so not
I will
the
tell
same
you-
thing. Not the same thing.
Something I learned talking about hot setting a guard on a knife, a red hot guard on a cold knife. You got to kind of gauge that when you do it, because when you go back and sand the knife after you finished, that gap's going to open up just a fraction on the sides of the knife, not the spine or the heel, but it's going to open up just a little bit. And while it's not significant or would be noticed, it's noticed by me because where it was flawless to begin with. So yeah, you got to think ahead a couple steps everywhere along the way, whether you're hot setting a handle in wood or doing a metal guard, on a blade.
And I'll tell you, that's one of the reasons why Kyle Royer does it the way he does it. And he gets in there with his little dental burr tool thing, and he carves it out. He doesn't, he figures out exactly where it's at, and he goes in there with his 7-layer magnifying glass thing, and he gets in there. Yep. And does that.
He said on his last YouTube video, if you're not dental burring knife guards, you're not a knife maker.
Right.
Take that, Otis. Take that, Otis.
Spit on him after he said that?
I spit right on the computer. I spit on the computer. I spit him on the computer screen every time I see him.
This kind of leads me into one of my other things. The knife that I'm going to be making whenever I get back from this next knife show, it is this profile that's right here, and I'm doing an integral guard on that.
Oh, okay.
It says your sharpening choil says R for Rivers.
Yes, and it'll be full forged integral guard and a full tang on top of that. Not a guard and then a step down into a hidden tang and make it easy on myself. I'm gonna step it. So basically, I've got to make the guard and then still be able to step it down for both into the ricasso and into the tang. And there will be file work and there'll be things cleaning stuff up. But I'm going to do a lot of it by hammer and anvil and upsetting shoulders and pulling and drawing and moving things to where it needs to be. It's going to be a lot of work.
I saw this week where somebody, I think, did what you're talking about. It was a long knife and didn't have a deep heel on it, but they had forged the guard with the drop down for your finger and everything in it. And I'm not sure if it went to hidden tang after that or full tang, but I was just like, oh my gosh,
Will Stelter.
Is that who did that knife? Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, a whole different level of banging on steel.
Yeah, so he's doing his Mastersmith set right now.
Yeah,
and so he's doing a integral guard with relief cuts.
Okay.
So it'll have his tang is going to have a relief cut into it. So you'll actually be able to see through the handle and be able to see through the blade.
Wow.
As well. That knife that he's making is absolutely ridiculous. I'm not going that crazy, but I am going crazy. And,
well, no, it's still wonderful what you're talking about.
Yeah, I've wanted to do one for a while, and I feel very comfortable with doing my integrals right now. So I've just got to plan it all out. It would be a lot easier if I had a press. If I had a press, I'd be able to make this knife super easy with just dies. I don't have a press, so we're going to hammer, anvil, and vices, and there'll be a lot of using all my different hammers to get everything. And I've got a couple of punches that I'm going to be using to upset shoulders and do different things like that. So it's going to be a task, but I want it to be ridiculous, and I kind of want to have fun with it.
Well, I must say, so I don't get a copyright infringement, I will just have to rewrite it just a little bit and not play the music. I'll just say this. There goes my heroes. Y'all are ordinary. It's a good song.
It is a good song.
It is a good song. Especially the part where he says, they're ordinary. He's ordinary, whatever he says. But yeah, it's pretty cool what you guys are up to. Keep inspiring me.
It's fun. And I don't know. I think that is. Are we calling the question section there? Or do you want me to do my one more?
Well, we should do another one. But before we do that, we want to make sure we talk about one of the other great grinders out there for you guys that don't use the grinder that I'm partial to. And that is a Marabraid. Oh, no, that's one I like. I'm sorry. I can't screw this up.
Broadback, right?
If you're using a Marabraid, be sure and use Templars 20 at checkout for parts and accessories. And I'm not even going to talk about the other one right now because that would be rude. I'm going to talk about, the next two folks are grinder companies. My goodness. All right. Broadbeck Ironworks. Ryan Broadbeck is just, he's one of the greatest, nicest guys. The only episode of Forged in Fire I have ever watched was his, and I loved it with him and Vince on the show. They are visionaries as well when it comes to grinding, and they've got so many great products out there. Their grinder is very versatile. It's 2x72, one of the best on the market as well. You will find it in many, many shops of some well-known knife makers. They offer build your own and fully assembled painted grinders. Their 2x72 grinder has an easy to assemble bolt together design with the capability to run a belt vertically or horizontally. I will tell you, Ryan told me personally that they're looking at coming out with a possible stand this coming year to make it easy for the guys to roll it around the shop. So if you're just starting to shop or looking to expand your current grinder capabilities, look no further than Broadbeck Ironworks. And you can find them at broadbeckironworks.com. By the way, put in Templars 10 at checkout on your order for parts and accessories at Broadbeck as well. And since we're on to grinders, we might as well bring her on home. Housemade. 3 different categories, 3 different great makers of grinders. Housemade, Brian Houseward over at housemade.us also has a 2x72 grinder, and it's called the Revolution. He's also got one that he's come out with that's still probably in some development. Is it a 3-inch wide belt, Eric? Is that what we saw? A 3-inch wide belt?
3x79.
And have not got a name about that one yet. But listen, guys, we're talking about innovators.
I think it's the Typhoon or the Cyclone or the Tsunami. It's the Tsunami.
I think the Shagman 27032B would be a good name. But anyway, Tsunami's just fine if that's what he wants to go with. But not only grinders, he's also got a great forge out there, the Apollo forge. I mentioned there's another forge brand that I use, but I will tell you my next forge, because I want that ribbon burner and the abilities that that forge has as well. Go out and check out his Apollo forge. And again, you can find him at housemade.us. One thing we will reiterate that we've got through all of our advertising tonight is that we don't charge the manufacturers and suppliers any type of fee on our show. That way, number one, you can't say that they're buying our advertisement to tell you what is good about them that maybe we don't necessarily endorse. If they come on the show, we all collectively agree that that's a great product or service. So whether you go with an Ameribraid, my brand that I love, whether you go with a Broadbeck, which I know that I believe Chris Jones used a Broadbeck on the show.
My brother Travis just bought a full Broadbeck set.
That's right. Otisir, your next brand is going to likely be a Broadbeck as well.
Yep.
And then Eric uses a
Beaumont Metalworks.
Beaumont
KMG.
Metalworks. Yep, I saw one of them on Facebook Marketplace locally this week, and I thought about you, but you've already upgraded yours. And then of course there are so many Housemade a Revolution 2x72s out there that people are making some of the most beautiful knives on. As a matter of fact, I believe Mr. Geis over at Brandon's Forge, he's using a Broadbeck. Or excuse me. See, they're all there running together. He's using a house-made grinder as well. So you can't go wrong. Now, I will tell you, I'm a little partial on my abrasives and I'm a little partial on my knife handles. But again, if you are a manufacturer supplier out there and you want to submit what you have to offer to the show, we're not going to ask for samples or this, that, and the other. We're just going to learn a little bit about you. The guys of us have used it and can endorse you. We'll be tickled to add you to the show because we want to make sure that all of our listeners have the ability to choose the best products out there. That's all I have to say about that. Eric, you had one more question. Chip, how did you get to be so beautiful? Well, Eric, let me tell you, I got my hair cut today, and I'm using a filter that makes me look younger with a little spot on the end of my nose. So that's how I got to be beautiful. All right. Oh, that wasn't your question.
So, that was the question, right? How do you get there? How do you do it?
Lots of makeup.
It's like I get ready 30 minutes before we actually start doing this, even though nobody can see it.
Yeah.
You get ready just for us.
And you never know what the hell's going to come out of Chip's mouth. It's like Chip's throwing sarcastic curveballs all day long. It's the reason I have to be quiet on your live broadcast now because I just get in the way.
All right. So on this last one, we'll do our best to make it not take 6 years to have this particular discussion. But this is a good one, and especially for a new knife maker, you're going to get several different opinions from different people who have been making knives for different periods of time and selling them. How do I price my knives?
I hate that question.
Don't do that.
Next. It's the one that I get asked more than any other question on my channel. For the past 5 years, I've been asked that easily 100 plus times, and every single time I have to give like a 1 hour long explanation for this, because everyone, you price your knives different than everyone else. There's no general rule. There's no you charge X amount of dollars per hour. There's no limitation on anything. You got guys that are selling $100 knives, and you got guys that are selling $100,000 knives, and we get to see some of those at blade shows and things like that. There are no joke, no kidding. There are people who buy a knife for $100,000, and trying to figure this out, because I've had to answer it so much. I'll go ahead and answer this one, and then if y'all have any other input, feel free to add it in. One of the easiest ways to figure out how much you could sell a knife for is, do people buy your knives right now? If no one's buying your knives, then you might just need to give a few away. And I know that some people are like, why would I give this thing away? Because I put all this time and effort and everything into it. It's not doing you any good if it is in your dresser or on a magnetic strip or in a closet or on a shelf or anything like that. If you can put it in someone's hand and then they can post something about it saying that it was a good knife, it was a comfortable knife, it was a knife that they would love to use over and over and over again, you will have a better chance at selling a knife. So there are several people who give away their first few knives. I have given away several knives, and I still sell knives and everything like that. But it's one of those things to where you got to get some word of mouth out there, once people start purchasing your knives, then you can start thinking about how much should I charge per hour? How do I recoup my material cost? So you'll have people that'll wonder why your knives are worth $250. Let's just start with a general $250. And you'll have to explain to them, well, maybe that knife has $40 worth of handle material on it. A lot of people don't understand that handle material costs money. They just think you went and got a piece of material off a tree and you whittled it down into a handle and you stuck it on a knife and it was free wood. It's just wood. Wood grows on trees. What do you mean the handle costs $55?
Right.
And you have to be able to start thinking through handle cost, material cost for your abrasives, and trying to recoup some of the cost of your tools. You will not get rich making knives.
Nope.
It's one of those things that myself, as a person who went full-time knife making a few months ago, I've had to do the equations and figure out what makes sense and what will sell at what price point, what size knife sells at what price point. Sometimes you need to adjust them down. Sometimes you need to adjust it up. But it's one of those things to where unless you actually sell a few knives, you won't know where to actually price it. And you'll have some people tell you that your $100 knife, this is most likely going to be another maker who's not buying your knife, is going to tell you that $100 knife should be priced at $400. What the heck are you selling it for $100 for? And you're thinking to yourself, I tried to sell it for $250. No one bought it. But at $100, I can sell them all day. And there's going to be those moments where you're going to have some people that are selling their $400 knives, and people are going to go, you're charging $400 for this, huh? How? Because you look at it and you're thinking there's no way, because a $400 knife is supposed to look like X. But it's one of those things to where you sell a couple of them and then you start realizing, okay, I can sell this particular style of knife for this amount. Okay, it cost me a little bit more than what I think or more than what I'm selling it for. So maybe I should try and mark it up $25. And if you can sell it at that, great. You don't want to price gouge everybody, but you will gradually figure out where the sweet spot is to where they sell and they don't sell, and then try and go for that. One of the big reasons why a lot of people don't make a ton of money off of knife making is because the easier way to make money off of it is to be a production knife maker who makes several of the same model with very similar handles, with very similar grinds, very similar profiles, to where you can knock them out fast and you can do them in batches. And you can make good money off of them because you have less overhead for your time, materials, because you're able to buy things in bulk. But a lot of knife makers make one knife at a time. They will design a knife, they'll make that knife, they'll go, cool, I made that knife, I'm done with that style, I'm gonna make a new style of knife. And then you do that again and again and again, and you'll have 3 weeks worth of time in one knife, and you'll try and tell yourself, how the heck am I supposed to sell this for $200 whenever I have 40 hours invested into the knife? And if you want to make money off of it, you got to get your time of making knives down. Got to get your process quicker. If you're cool with just recouping some of the cost of the knife and trying to recoup some of your tool expenses, then you can make one-off customs, sell them for whatever you can get for them, and at least you're making the knives that you think are cool. I did that whenever I first started making knives, and I had YouTube to help me with different things with income on the knives. But yeah, whenever I switched to making knives full time, I learned that I needed to get my process down faster quicker and utilize as much materials as I had possible. You don't throw away excess or anything like that. But long-winded, I know. It's one of those things where there is no defined pricing range. There's no book. There probably is a book. I've never read the book that tells you how to charge for your knives. I'm pretty sure somebody has wrote a book because everybody's written a book about everything. But it's all you figuring out what you can sell in your market, meaning your local area, what you can sell them for. And then eventually, if you get a website, it will open you up to a bigger market to where you can actually sell to a broader range of people. And that'll typically let you ask for a little bit more. Your local market tends to be at least $100 less per knife than everywhere else, because everybody who's local to you, they might not understand how much knives should be worth because they're used to buying knives from Academy or Walmart or your box stores, and they could buy a knife for $55 that they use and abuse. Why would yours cost $550?
Let me add to that, because that's a great explanation right there. Here's my personal experience. I'm a guy that makes what he likes to make. I'm more of a artist than I am a productionist. And I enjoy what I make. I may make groups of knives in the future and be able to do some economies of scale and set a price on them. I can. Every knife I made last year, I gave every one away. And I prospered for that because it increased my people knowing who I was, and also added to a mission that I was on last year. And I've explained that before, why I gave those knives away. Every knife I have sold has been $400 to $1,200 per knife. And you guys are like, what? Now, I made a lot of fleshers. Those sold for $200 a piece. They were easy and came out real quickly. And for friends and family, and I know who you are, so don't come in and try and befriend me. Close friends and family, I never charge more than $200 a knife, because that's a bond that I have with certain people. Everyone else, I've sold every knife. They've been sold before I finished them. And that's what the market would bear for my knives. Are they the most beautiful? Am I learning as I go? I am, but I'm selling something that's nice enough to garner those prices, and people have been quite happy. So even whether they were made on a cowboy wood forge or what I'm doing today or where I'll be a year from now, I'm going to charge what the market will be or bear for that. Now, if as an artist maker, that may be quite different than a production maker, because I don't go to shows and sell knives. I don't have a lot of interest in that. I like to go to shows and see knives and support my friends who sell knives. If I'm in that category, I'm probably going to take a whole different pricing formula and apply to that, similar to what you're talking about, Eric, because whether it's a business or a secondary business in your life, I think that's quite a bit different. Are my knives overpriced? I don't know. I agree with you. You know, Jason's like, yes. You know, he's laughing.
I'm just meddling.
He's laughing. He's laughing. But if someone offered you $1,200 for a Beardman that I made a year and a half ago, would you say no to that? No, right. not at all. Right. But always be willing to negotiate. This is what I want, but this is what I'll take. So it's a different for me because I approach knife making differently. I'm still learning to be a good knife maker. And as I said, somebody's like, well, that's too much for those knives. Take into account that I gave every knife away that I made last year to become a better knife maker. So that's where I am.
Uh-huh.
As a guy that has written some books, there's some stuff on pricing in the Hacks book. I have a whole book, Knife Buying Guide, that talks about pricing a little bit. And y'all have covered most of it, but I would say two more things. One thing that I actually got from Tracy Mickley, the USA Knife Maker guy, back in the old Knife Dogs forum days, has to do with speed or pace, right? So if you put your knife out at a price and it sells very fast, price the next one a little higher. If you put a knife out there and it sells very slow, probably overshot it, right? And that's generalization, not true every time. But I have found I can turn up or down the volume of knives sold by where I choose to put the price within a range sometimes. Like I know if I go to a show and I've got another show the month after that, if I put those where I want them, I'll bring home a bunch of them. I also know that if I put them at a sellable price, I can sell a bunch of them. So that speed, that market demand, supply and demand as it affects price, is something to think about.
Yeah. It's like selling cars.
I never sold cars,
but essentially, this is what I'm going to put this one out on the lot for, and now let's negotiate it. And I tell you, I've seen your knives out on a table, and you had a beautiful knife. I forget which one it was last year, the name of it at the show.
I had the Fred Bear last year,
and it didn't sell there, and I couldn't believe it, but it eventually went, and that's what I mean. Selling cars, eventually somebody's going to come along.
When you get to, a $3,000 knife or a $5,000 knife, you can't just say, well, that one didn't sell fast enough, I overshot it, because there's just not that many buyers that play at that level. What I'm talking about is the range between maybe 150 and maybe even 500.
Yeah.
You can play even $25 or $50 within that range, turn on or turn off a knife sale sometimes if you know your market well.
Right.
Knife making is kind of funny because we price our stuff based on our competitor stuff a little bit, right? Like you don't want to undersell people selling the same quality of knife. And you also don't want to be the guy that charges too much for a knife that's the same quality as everybody else is selling for $100 less.
I base mine on how much the gun is I want to buy with the knife money.
That's legit right there. That's $1 million.
Yep. What do you want to buy?
We're talking SIG 320s. We're not talking quite a million.
We're in Abrams now.
Yeah.
Joe Jorgensen was going to let me get a tank. That's why I voted for her back in the day. But no, the other thing I wanted to say about price that y'all didn't really cover. Eric has talked in depth about the formula way. Like, so in real life, every sale should cover the materials and the labor and some amortized slice of your equipment, right? If you're trying to do it as a business. I'm fortunate to do it as a very qualified side hustle, right? I don't have to feed my kids with knife money. Mom gets new shoes with that sometimes.
Thank God, me neither.
Exactly. So for me, I kind of have a shop rate, kind of like a mechanic shop would. Like I know how long a knife should take, and so I don't charge extra if I booger it. I don't charge less if I finish it faster either. I mean, I kind of know this knife runs about that much. Another thing I do is run a shop rate on my big projects, right? So the difference between a $3,500 crazy Bowie knife with historical materials and a $5,000 crazy Bowie knife with historical materials is how many skilled hours did I have to put into that to get to that point, right? So I kind of have an hourly rate that I put together for the complex pieces.
I do have one. I do have one important piece of advice, though. This is a Templar's tip as well. You guys go out and buy Pinto knives before he realizes how much they're really worth, because he's literally giving them away.
I ain't selling nothing right now. I'm putting a big old stash to bring it to a blade show.
There you go. But you
gotta
need to
get Mr. Hey, Jason, talking about blade show, I got a question there.
Yeah.
So for the guild, right, I present 4 knives, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if I present 8? Can I be accepted right away, or do I have to wait until next year?
No, we can't quite do it that way.
Depends on how many you give away. If you give away 4,
we do kind of have a fast track. So if your stuff is as good in real life as it looks like all the times I've seen it not in person,
it's better.
Good. There are.
They are.
There's a way to kind of skip straight to probationary inspection or even probationary membership.
Who do I get a bribe for that? Huh?
Not me. I'm
Send
on the
me-
committee.
send
but
me
I'm
three
not the
knives.
one that makes the rules.
Send me 3 knives. I'll put in a good word for you.
So Les Adams and Gary Langley are your contact guys that can talk you through those details a little better.
We're gonna see about that at Blade Show. Talking about Blade Show, man, I already got my hotel set up. About 5 minutes walk from the Cobb Galleria.
Where are you staying?
My wife booked it. I have no idea.
We're staying in the
With
Hampton.
my
and
luck,
you
I'm
gotta-
going to be right next door to you, man.
Well, I hope so. We're staying at the Hampton, and you've got to walk across the baseball bridge over to the Cobb.
Yeah.
It's a 5-minute walk.
I'll be bunking with Chip and them.
Good. Are you
All
really?
right, cool.
Are you really going to? I mean, it's wonderful. We want you to.
I have to because
Good. So
me trying to afford other stuff on a knife maker's salary.
no, that's fine. You said that Nisha may be coming with you, and I figured, well, I guess she comes, y'all can have the bathroom on an inflatable, but
Right.
or I can sleep in the bathtub and y'all can have my bed. But yes, just bring an inflatable and come on. Or Eric, if you can sleep with me, if you touch me, I'll stab you.
It's fine.
Okay.
As long as with a knife or something like that, that's cool. We're not.
I was gonna say.
Yeah. We can-
I don't want to get poked by anything else.
Exactly. Hey, let me tell you, you don't have to worry about that with me, and I'm just hoping I don't with you. But based on what I know about you, I think we're both safe. Maybe we'll do like the 2-man tent thing, where one guy's head's at the foot of the bed, and one guy's head's at the at the head of the bed. So, and if you go to kissing anything, you're kissing the other guy's feet, and that ain't going to taste good. So, no, but seriously, we've got room for a third compadre in there. We can bring a twin inflatable. I can grab one and bring it out of our house, or whatever we need to do is fine. So looking forward to that. So
sounds good.
So
to
you
me.
were on the list too. I'm glad. Hey, listen, guys, questions, comments, product reviews, show, guest ideas, subscribe or email us at the Knives Templars at Yahoo. Be sure and email us with the subject line, Otis here, you charge too little for your knives. Or DM us on Facebook with the same message at the Knives Templars podcast group. Visit us at theknivestemplars.com, always to stay up to date. This episode is sponsored by The Rivers Experience, Redeem Steel, knife-wood.com, Ameribraid, and Templars 20 for parts and accessories, Majestic Forge, Byford's Guns in Hartselle, Alabama, Pop's Knife Supplies. You know that Byford's plays our podcast in the store every week, which is kind of nice. Pop's Knife Supplies, Maritime Knife Supply, Housemade, and Phoenix Abrasives with their 10% off at checkout with Templars 10. And also Broadbeck Ironworks and Templars 10 for parts and accessories there. You can hear us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube Music, Anchor, Amazon, and CastBox. You can also find us on the regular YouTube now because we upload there every week. List of resources, suggested materials, social media handles at the Knives Templars on Facebook. Just let us know you're there. We want to hear from you. With all that being said, it's piggy time, Otis here.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Brought to you by Porkhouse Productions. Oinky, oinky, oinky.
There you go, buddy.
Oinky, oinky.
So, I've got after show, post show, the show after the show. I've got to release those shirts. I don't know if you guys are going to want Templar shirts or not. That's entirely up to you. You don't have to get them, but I finally got them done, and I'm going to post those with the links.
I was talking to my wife. I think we're going to make a matching set of just Pintos, Things are going to look...
Pintos what? Pintos what?
Yeah, just,
You need to have...
Just Pinto, just Pinto.
You need
to have the pinto sauce. You need to have the pinto sauce.
Yeah.
And in a bucket of...
turkey fryer.
Or turkey fryer, and for it to have... like diesel written on it, but like it kind of blurred out a little bit.
Yeah. Ask me how to get some of my pinto sauce. There you go.
Yeah. Ask me about my sauce.
Yeah.
And just have like pinto.
and then on the back you can take that Photoshop I did of you forging naked by the moon and put that on the back of the shirt.
No,
dude, it would be a popular shirt. You were too sensitive. It's not. It doesn't show. You are too sensitive.
If you'll get it to where you have the turkey fryer, and you know how people are holding the turkey over the fryer, but you have a knife.
Yep.
Right there, going into the turkey fryer.
Yep.
That would be
hiding your unmentionables. With the full moon in the background.
Either way, I think your pinto shirts are going to be cool. I would take a pinto shirt, and it wouldn't even make any sense because I'm not a pinto, but I'd wear a shirt that said pinto on it.
How many people say now pinto is a last name? It's a surname that you have. How many people just make the funny about, my name's Chip, chocolate chip, Chips Ahoy, cow chip. How many people associate your name just jokingly with the bean, just pinto bean, that kind of comes with the name?
Yeah, in America, yeah. In Brazil, it's different.
Because it's a surname?
Because it's just normal.
Yeah,
it's just a name there.
Here, people, the car, the bean,
the car too, yeah.
Yeah. In Brazil, it's a whole different deal. I mean, pinto has 3 different meanings, Pinto being as a painter, I paint, right?
Yeah.
Eu pinto, right? I paint. It also means a chick, a baby chicken.
Yeah.
Right?
Poultry.
Yeah. And it also means ding dong ching chong, So,
wow.
Yeah.
Great meaning. And of course, they call
so I said, yo, man, you want to grab my pinto knife? Of course,
Yeah. Put my pinto knife in your hand. Jason's had to deal with Fried Daddy.
Fried Daddy and French fry my whole life.
Yeah. Yep. Eric Rivers is like, Mississippi, Swanee.
Nope.
Nothing with Rivers. What do they do with Rivers? Nothing?
My initials are ER. So I get the ER, but mine has always been simple because people just call me E or Rivers. So I've never really had like a weird nickname other than my mom's nickname for me was Generic.
She called you Generic?
Yes, because my oldest brother's name is John. My brother between me and him is Danny. And mine's Eric. So she would go John, Danny, Eric.
Generic.
So she'd be like, John, Danny, Eric. Like if I was the one that was in trouble, but all of us were typically in trouble together, she would just go through the names because it was almost like she would forget. She would laugh. She's going to laugh when she listens to this because she listens to the podcasts. But no joke. It is Generic. And then my family's other one for me is Eric Anisha.
Yes.
Like it's a
one word
that you could catch.
Yeah,
Eric Anisha. But yeah, those are the only ones. Other than that, it's always just been E or Rivers.
And you also have to correct people with the K often.
Oh yeah, no, I've got like legit employee of the month things. These are people who have to write checks to me.
Yeah,
I've got employee of the month plaques that have ERIC.
Yeah.
And they literally, in everything that they have legal for me, it's ERICK.
All right.
But for some reason, I don't have a single employee of the month plaque that has ERICK on it.
Well, let me see this.
Jason,
Jason,
that to some other Eric over there. You never know.
Let's see who's got the best formal name that we can all keep from laughing. Jason, what's your full formal name?
Jason Keith Fry.
Keith.
Been better if it'd been like Jason French Fry, but that's fine. That's okay. That's pretty. That's American.
That's my actual name. Yeah, sorry.
Jason Keith Fry. Odysseer, you've got like 4 names because you got to put your maternal and your paternal name on there. So go ahead. Let's hear
full name.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Odysseer de Souza Pinto.
That's it.
That's it. I gotta do something. Now, because we cut you out of it, if I were to grab all the names, it would have been.
That's what I want to hear.
Yeah, it would have been, right? Odysseer, Dutra, Kanoff, de Souza, Pinto.
That sounds like a disease.
right? Huge.
Yeah.
Hey, man, you know, ancient Portuguese,
I've got 4.
they used to have like 50 names, like the royalty.
Oh, yeah.
When you
Yeah,
read
like
the
Santa
names
Anna,
of
the Texas guy,
the
had
Portuguese
But-
princes, it was like,
10 names,
you know,
yeah.
it's a whole book just for the name.
Yep.
Yeah, but given what you said your last name could be, when you put all 5 of those together, it sounds like a STD.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I know.
I made you guys laugh. Made one of you laugh. Okay, Eric, let's hear what you got, because you got that. You wait just a second. Eric is Scandinavian the way you spell it, or more Russian, that part of Eastern Europe. So let's hear it.
So if my driver's license is Eric Charles Rivers, my actual legal name on my birth certificate is Eric Charles Matthew Rivers. So I have 2 middle names because my mom and my dad could not decide. My Charles is my grandfather's name. There's a lot of uncles, and Charles is a family name.
Yeah.
So my dad wanted Charles in there. My mom did not want Charles. She wanted Matthew. She filled out the thing whenever the nurse was in there. It's Eric Matthew Rivers. My dad went behind her back, walked down the hall to where the lady was putting the things in the files, and he had her write in Charles before Matthew. So it's Eric Charles Matthew
on your birth
Rivers.
certificate.
On my birth certificate.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah,
That's a good story.
My mom did not know about it until later.
Wow.
I think that is pretty cool there for sure. So, all right, guys. So I can't live up to my real name because it's too pinky in the air.
Chillicothe Midweather?
Too pinky in the air.
Well, that's why I call myself like Chillicothe Smidweather. I use Antonio Mozzarella, Spaghetti Mozzarella, Buck Duck Dwin. You have all these aliases for writing when I do writing and all. But I will tell you, Charles Edward Carlisle II.
Oh, we got 2 Charlies here. Huh?
Charles Edward Carlisle II. Pretty dang fancy right there, isn't it?
It's pretty fancy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I've got one for you, though.
Well, let me just say, my dad's name is Charles Edward Carlisle, so I'm Chip off the old block, so to speak. It's what they always told me. But if I had been a girl, they were going to name me. No, Belinda. Belinda. And of course, there is a Belinda Carlisle who sang with the Go-Go's, so it's not far-fetched, but Belinda. And I don't think I would have liked Belinda. But go ahead, Eric.
That is funny, though. I think your name's awesome, for one. Chip Carlisle, just that nickname is awesome. My father-in-law and my brother-in-law, one goes by Bud, one goes by Max.
Yeah.
Bud is super simple because his name is Manly Maxwell Chastain II.
I love that.
That's good.
His Manly Maxwell Chastain II. My brother-in-law's is Manly Maxwell Chastain III. Their first name is legit Manly.
It's a lot to live up to.
Right?
That is a lot to live up to.
You better not do some funny business, huh?
Yes, correct. And but they go by, of course, Bud and Max, and it's kind of funny. But yeah, so Bud, my father-in-law, he was a rodeo clown. I'm pointing over here because we have a picture of his painting of him as a rodeo clown, all dressed up above our fireplace. But yeah, he was always known as Bud, never Manly.
Well, that's cool though.
But it's he's a manly dude and he's an awesome guy.
That is wonderful, especially if he's working rodeo, because rodeo clowns are just cowboys in makeup is also. And I don't mean feminine. Those are tough guys.
They're the crazy ones.
Yeah, they are.
They're the ones that literally have to save they're the guys that got to save everybody, and they're the ones that have to be out there just running around with the bull
wasn't there a
on
song,
his back and get out.
Wasn't there a song about rodeo clowns or something back in the 70s? I'll have to look that up and see. I'm not sure. Hey, last thing we talk about before we jump off tonight. Anybody hear how Joey and Don's podcast is doing? Have they launched it yet? I've looked for it, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're doing little sneak peeks of it on Instagram, but yeah, they have it on YouTube. They did
So
one
it's on
with,
YouTube.
yes, because you can actually see them.
Oh, and the name of it again is
the
Crafted Edge.
Crafting Edge. Crafted Edge.
I'll have to listen to it tonight. I've been looking forward to it. That's excellent.
Yeah, they had, I think, a mirror braid. The guys are a mirror braid on one of their episodes. And,
oh wow.
They've had a few people on.
Oh wow.
Basically, the podcast is like our Maker's Mark that we did.
Yeah.
And it's just focused on the makers within the community and letting them just tell their whole story and all that. So they're doing a good job.
That is so wonderful to hear. I am so happy for them. Good to hear. I follow them on Facebook. I don't see Don as friends on Facebook anymore, but I still follow him. I didn't do anything. I'm just saying that's what I saw. But I am tickled to death because they're a couple of great guys. So with that being said, guys, what do we say at this time? Good night.
Y'all have an awesome day.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see you all again in a couple weeks.
Oinky, oinky, oinky.